Have you ever been in a health food store, looked at a bottle of some herbal remedy, and thought, hey, it's natural, it's gotta be safe, right? It's a super common way to think. I mean, Ayurvedic traditions have been around for thousands of years. But what if there's more to the story? Today, we're gonna pull back the curtain on the hidden side of these ancient cures.
We're going to start by exploring the really fascinating ancient wisdom behind some of these remedies. But then, we're going to uncover some crucial and frankly pretty startling scientific warnings that show the truth is way, way more complicated than you might think. Okay, so to really understand Ayurveda, you have to start with one of its most central ideas. It's this concept of a force that's believed to control our health from the absolute core of our being. Let's talk about Agni.
So what is Agni? Well, it's described as our digestive fire. The best way to think of it is like the engine inside your body. When that engine is running hot and clean, it burns through everything you eat efficiently. It takes the good stuff, the nutrients, and gets rid of all the junk. And in Ayurveda, all good health, literally everything, begins with a strong Agni.
So how do you know if your internal engine, your Agni, is kind of sputtering out? Well, the signs are probably going to sound pretty familiar. We're talking about things like bloating, feeling tired all the time, weird cravings for junk food, or even skin problems like acne. It's basically the body's check engine light coming on.
Now, this is where it gets really cool. This ancient idea of a central fire in our gut that controls our health, well, it might sound incredibly familiar to anyone who's been hearing about the gut microbiota in modern science.
So on one side, you've got Agni, this traditional sort of metaphysical concept of a digestive fire. And on the other, you have the gut microbiota, the literal trillions of bacteria and other microorganisms that science now knows are absolutely critical for our digestion, our metabolism, even our immune system. It's like two different languages from two different worlds, both saying the exact same thing. Your gut is the center of your health.
And this isn't just a neat philosophical idea. Sometimes modern science finds actual hard data that seems to perfectly support what these ancient remedies were aiming for all along. Let's look at a really fascinating example involving something called the myrobalan plum.
So, in a controlled study, researchers gave one group an extract from this plum and a control group nothing. The changes they saw in the gut bacteria were, well, they were pretty remarkable. Just look at the numbers for bifidobacterium and lactobacillus. These are two of the good guys you want in your gut. The difference is just huge.
Let me put this in perspective for you. The group taking the plum extract saw a 138% increase in bifidobacterium, a 79% increase in lactobacillus. I mean, that's incredible. And at the very same time, the levels of potentially harmful bacteria like Clostridium were cut by more than half. So on the surface, this looks like a slam dunk, right? Science validating ancient wisdom. But it's not the whole story, not by a long shot.
Because for all these potential benefits, there is a serious, well-documented, and often completely ignored dark side, a hidden risk that has everything to do with one of our body's most important organs, the liver.
This quote from a major scientific review published in 2020 just hits the nail on the head. It says, "The general misconception is that natural herbal-based preparations are devoid of toxicity." Let that sink in. The belief that natural equals harmless is, according to a mountain of evidence, a dangerous misconception.
The official scientific term for this is hepatotoxicity. It's a fancy word that just means chemical-driven liver damage. When it's caused by herbs, they call it herb-induced liver injury, or HILLI. And we're not talking about a small side effect here. This can range from something minor all the way to complete acute liver failure. The key thing is these herbs contain powerful, biologically active compounds. That's why they work, but that activity isn't always good for you.
So, let's look at the actual evidence. We're going to open up the case files on some of the most popular, most common Ayurvedic herbs on the market and see what the clinical data really says.
First on the list, turmeric. I mean, you've seen it everywhere, right? It's hailed as this miracle anti-inflammatory. People put it in their food, their golden lattes, or they take it in super high-potency supplements.
But documented medical cases show that turmeric supplements can, in certain people, trigger a severe reaction that looks just like autoimmune hepatitis. That means your own immune system gets confused and starts attacking your liver cells. Now, the good news is, in most cases, this is reversible if you just stop taking the supplement.
And this picture shows you the effect in real life. On the left, see those spiky, misshapen red blood cells? Those are called spur cells, and they appeared in the blood of a patient with liver cirrhosis who was taking turmeric. Now look at the right. That's their blood after they stopped the supplement. The cells are perfectly round and healthy again. It's a direct, visible, biological consequence.
Okay, next case file, ashwagandha.
This stuff is incredibly popular right now. It's an adaptogen, which means people use it for stress and fatigue. And it's almost always marketed as this gentle, calming, restorative tonic.
But case studies from Iceland and the US tell a totally different story. In some people, ashwagandha has been linked to a severe type of liver injury that leads to jaundice. Basically, the flow of bile from the liver gets blocked up. And getting better isn't fast. It can be a long, drawn-out process, sometimes taking up to 5 months to fully resolve. And this is what that damage actually looks like under a microscope. This is from a real patient's liver biopsy. All those dark, dense clumps, those are actual bile plugs, physical blockages gumming up the tiny tubes inside the liver. It's a pretty stark visual of the very real internal damage that can happen. It's a far cry from the gentle image on the bottle.
And for our last case file, we're not looking at one specific herb, but at a whole class of really dangerous compounds called pyrrolizidine alkaloids, or PAs. The scary thing is, these are found naturally in a number of common plants used in traditional medicines.
And this slide right here shows you exactly why they're so dangerous. This is a patient's liver tissue over the course of just one single year. The sample on the left shows the initial injury. The one on the right shows the same liver a year later, full-blown cirrhosis. That is permanent, irreversible scarring of the liver. This isn't a temporary problem that gets better. This is a chronic, life-altering disease caused by an herbal supplement.
So, after seeing all of this, after looking at the actual clinical evidence, what's the bottom line? It all boils down to one simple, absolutely vital message.
First, and please, if you remember one thing, remember this. Natural is not a synonym for safe. These are potent chemicals, period. Second, many of these products are mixtures of tons of different herbs, so if you have a bad reaction, it's almost impossible to know which ingredient was the problem. Add to that the fact that the supplement industry often lacks strict regulation, meaning contaminants can sneak in, and it's a risky situation. And that's why the most important thing you can do is to always inform your doctor about any supplements you're taking.
And this really leaves us with a critical question. There's clearly some real wisdom in traditional practices. We saw that with the Maribelon plum. But there are also undeniable, scientifically proven dangers. The challenge for all of us, then, is to figure out how we can respect that ancient knowledge while still demanding the rigorous standards of safety that modern science provides.